is not the biggest no-brainer in the history of mankind, according to Dan Dibley. It's the biggest regular season game in the history of mankind. Is it Week 5? I do think it's a bigger game for the Cowboys than the 49ers in terms of like what the penalty is if you lose it. But I look at it more this way. This is what we've all been waiting for. Whatever questions you still have, if you're in the camp of I need to see more or wherever you are, whether it's Brock, whether it's the 49er defense, whether it's whatever it is, Kyle Shanahan's play calling, Mike McCarthy's job status, it's two teams that are at a very high level in the NFL, and both of them have a list of things that they need to prove because you do that every year. And this Sunday night, they're going to get the opportunity to do it.
And it could be the first of two possible NFC home field advantage tiebreakers because, Arizona's been good. They're not going to be there. Seattle's been plucky. They won't be there. The Rams miss me with that. You don't play the Lions. Green Bay's been up and down, more down of late. It feels like the NFC comes down to Philly, Dallas, and the Niners. And if you beat these two teams, then you own the tiebreaker in case you happen to have the same record as them at the end of the year.
Yeah, I just think there's a lot of emotion that goes into this, obviously, because it's 49ers and Cowboys.
Sure.
So that's inherent. There is like Brock Purdy, I think is only, and I don't even know if you can do this from one season to next, but there's obviously a lot of overlap, some of the same players, same coordinators, things like that. There's one team that he's played twice, and that was the Seattle Seahawks. He beat them on a Thursday night with broken ribs, and then he beat them again in the playoffs. But, there are a lot of people that say, okay, now that you've sort of had a chance to see Brock, remember this at the beginning of the year? Defensive coordinators are now going to find that kryptonite.
That was me.
And they're going to come after him. Well, we haven't seen that yet, but this is the Cowboys, these particular players, Micah Parsons, etc. This is their second shot at Brock Purdy, and they're aggressive and they're good, and I'm sure they are out to have all of the Brock Purdy talk and the 49er talk, have it go away, but more so, I think the mental side internally for them. You've even had people with the Cowboys, or at least around them, admit this week there's a thing there. There's a thing. The Cowboys feel under the 49ers' thumb right now. So that's what this Sunday represents for them.
For sure. And if you go back to that game last year in the NFC playoffs, January 22nd, actually of this year, it was 9-9 at the end of three quarters. That game could have gone either way, and it went the Niners' way, not because of Brock Purdy, but because of Dak Prescott. Because Dak Prescott, or Gak, or Yak, or whatever Guru calls him, Prescott, he gave up a couple of big turnovers, and the Niners capitalized, and that's why they won the game. Dallas, their defense was terrific in that game. The Niners had a hard time moving the ball on the ground. They had only 214 via the air. Brock Purdy was good, but not spectacular. The ground game was solid, but not, road grading. They only carried it for 113 yards. So you look at that game, and at the end of it, it could have gone either way. And it went the Niners' way, not because of Brock Purdy, but because of the defense.
I'm just sort of smiling because I'm getting to that point, like, all right, we're in the second half of the day Wednesday, starting to visualize it a little bit, right?
Lock in.
Well, what are you thinking right now? What do you think this is going to look like?
I think it's going to look like the game back in January. It's going to be a low-scoring, kind of a slugfesty game where I think about the Niners' O-line, and they have not been tested like they are going to be tested. And, Colton McKivitz over at right tackle has had, I don't want to say an up and down year, and I don't know what PFF has him rated at, and I should have that already. I should look that up because it's a big game and it's a big week, but I do know that Dallas has an unbelievable front. You mentioned earlier that they have 4 of the top 12 rated pass rushers, according to PFF. And this Niner team has not faced that yet. Yes, Aaron Donald, very good. TJ Watt, elite, and he owned Colton McKivitz. But it didn't matter because you still won the game. And beyond that, this Niner O-line has had a pretty easy go.
I love the over in this game.
Okay. What's the number?
It'll shock you.
Like 43.5?
Keep going.
Higher or lower?
Higher.
45.5?
45.
Okay.
45 is the over-under in this game
Well, you like
right
Brock
now.
Purdy getting 30.
No, I like both teams to score more than we're thinking they're going to score, is what I'm saying. I think a lot of times we see a game, and I remind everyone, these are two new teams. I know there's a lot of the same players, but these are two new teams. This is a new situation. There are new game plans. There's tape from last year that all these teams are going to watch. They're going to come out with new game plans. So when we see a game go 19-9, I think we look at it and we go, okay, that's how these two teams look when they get together. Well, I would argue, no, that's how they look when they got together that time. I think that the pendulum's going to swing back in the other direction. I think both defenses have a reputation for being incredible, and they have largely backed that up this year, though I'd also argue neither one of them has faced a good offense yet. Neither one of them. I guess the 49ers, you could say, faced a decent one with the Rams.
Yeah.
That's definitely the best offense of the 8 games that the two teams have played. And the Rams moved the ball against the Niners pretty good. When I watch what Dallas looked like in Arizona, I think Brock Purdy and the 49ers are going to move the ball. I also think Dak Prescott and the Cowboys are going to move the ball. This is the game that many 49er fans have been waiting for, because this, I do not believe, is a game where the offense is going to have the luxury of scoring south of 25 points and winning. I do not think that can happen this week.
Wow.
They're going to I think that this game is going to be more wide open than people believe.
Yeah, I disagree, and it's basically stylistically, and I don't want to get too much into preview radio, but I think about what this Dallas defense is and how ferocious they are, and I think about the Niners trying to control the clock and, using Christian McCaffrey in the ground game, and I don't think that Brock Purdy is going to have a chance to really sit back and, throw deep like he did last week against Arizona. They had a ton of time. He got sacked one time, and it was on a Colton McKivitz Olay at right tackle. I think he'll be under a lot more pressure, a lot more short passes, a lot more of a field position game, more Wishnowski than we're used to. But I don't see that Dallas is going to be able to do what the Rams did, and Dak Prescott, boom, out of his hand, move the chains, quick passing. Their passing attack is more predicated on CeeDee Lamb, and that to me is one of the interesting matchups. CeeDee Lamb in the slot against Isaiah Oliver and whoever they put over there in the Dallas 3 wides. The Niners are going to have to play a lot more nickel than they're used to, because Dallas is going to try to throw it a lot and use, single back and try to spread the Niners out. So that to me is going to be the interesting part of it.
I wonder. I'm sure Dallas is going to adjust. We've seen every single team the Niners have played this year go get the ball out of the quarterback's hands as quickly as possible. But I just think this, and maybe this is true for both teams. I think we have decided and made judgments about these two teams we're not actually ready to make. Oh, this Dallas defense is amazing. You ain't played anyone. And in fact, you have played, if I gave you 5 offenses so far this year in the NFL, where I'm like, joke, clown show, hot mess, total house in disorder, and complete dumpster fire. If I gave 5 teams that, 3 of them are on the Cowboys schedule this year. Giants, Jets, who am I? Giants,
don't say the Cardinals.
Patriots.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Why does the Dallas defense look so good? Because you're playing Zach Wilson and Mac Jones. And by the way, the Niner defense, we're not that far removed from it. Now, Dobbs played both teams.
Yeah.
He moved the ball better against the Cowboys than the Niners, but they moved the ball to a certain degree against both. And even them, is that an offense where you're like, oh, that scares you? Stafford is interesting and moved the ball a little bit. But if you ask me, what am I so excited about in this game? There's the inherent stuff. It's the Niners, the Cowboys, the Sunday Night Football.
Exactly.
But the big thing is, let's see it. Let's see all 4 groups go against someone who's elite on the other side of the ball, because none of you have yet.
Yeah, and the one that concerns me the most is the Niners offense against a defense that they haven't yet faced, because they haven't yet faced a defensive front like this that can get after you in a number of different ways with different personnel, interior, exterior, edge rushers, depth. And to me, it comes down to whether or not Dallas can control the run, because I think the Niners will run the ball at Micah Parsons, as many teams have, make him tackle, make him be involved in the ground game. And if the Niners can run the ball, they're going to win this game.
Yeah.
If they can't, I wonder about Brock Purdy. This is his biggest test of his career.
Yeah.
It's the biggest test of his career. And that's why I think it's the biggest regular season game that he's had. I mean, at Philadelphia, it was a bigger test. I get that. But he didn't even get to take that test.
You know what?
He got knocked out.
I get what you're saying. I would argue, though, that a guy who was a 7th-round rookie with essentially no reps in practice, when he gets tossed into a Super Bowl race, and in his first start, the greatest quarterback of all time is on the other team, or his first division game, it's on Thursday night and he's got broken ribs. Like, I sort of feel like Brock now has some wind beneath his sails.
Sure.
I get what you're saying. I think that he has. Here's how I would adjust the comment. I don't think this is the biggest test of his career. I think that this is the biggest opportunity that he's had to sort of convince people of what he can do. That's kind of the way I would say it.
It's big stage. Sunday Night Football against America's team and a great rivalry. And, you know, in the pregame, it'll be shots of T.O. at the Star and the catch game, and even before that, going all the way back to the games at Kezar. This rivalry is bigger than Brock and Dak and Micah and Bosa and all the rest of it. Yeah.
It's exactly what everybody needs. Honestly, I think that we think the season has taken more shape than it has. 4-0, 3-1. Against what? Honestly, against what? Like, it really takes shape Sunday night at 8:30. Sunday night at 8:30, we find out quién es más macho.
Nice.
Okay? Who really has that thing? And honestly, there's a scenario where we walk out of there going, it's both. It's both. If the final score is 24-23 and it's a classic battle, and we on Sunday Night Football, we walk out of there and go, okay, those are 2 of the 3 or 4 best teams in the NFC. But right now, I know what their records are. I know what we think from last year. I know we look at the roster and go, I'm certainly confident that the 49ers are that because they've already been that. And their record, Bill Parcells, you are what your record says you are. But by the same token, comments like, if they win this, then we can start talking about undefeated, or whoever wins this game, nothing's in their way. I mean, we're barely out of September.
Sure.
I think we only know a little bit.
But what we will know after Sunday is whether or not they hold the tiebreaker over Dallas in case that these 2 teams are tied. And if you lose to Dallas and Philly wins, you know that you're 3rd in the NFC based on Philly being undefeated and Dallas having the tiebreaker over you. So
don't you agree, though, also, NFC West, hell of a lot better of a division than we thought.
Sure.
So
that's fine.
No, I just think that I think that race is going to last longer than some of us thought.
It's a tighter race, but you're still. I mean, you're Carl Lewis in the 100. Yeah, you're not worried about it.
I'm not worried about it, but Seattle is always like hanging around, and here they are again. They're doing it again.